The following is an ESPN special presentation.
Loses it coming out of 4. The back end gets way around on him, but he takes the checkered flag, perhaps pushing it just a little too hard. Unbelievable, and it's a new track record.
You know, when he puts that thing on the line like he did at Loudon, you know, he's almost crashed it, but he's not almost put it on the pole 8 times this year.
Man, oh man, what you guys got?
Jeff Gordon. I was extremely loose. I really thought at that moment, all I wanted to do was gather back up and bring it home. Thank you. It's definitely overwhelming. That's why I try not to think about it. I'm just, you know, answer the questions that come to me and you know, sit down and eat dinner and talk to my wife and don't talk about what's happening because my life is so wonderful right now and got so many people out there supporting me, and, you know, I really don't know how to react to it, so I don't want to have to react to it. I just want to lead life one day at a time.
Yesterday, Jeff Gordon won the pole for the second Brickyard 400 coming up tomorrow in first round qualifying. It was our hope to bring you second round qualifying at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today, but as you can see, Mother Nature has interfered. We've been talking about hot and humid weather for a couple of weeks and wished it would cool down. Well, it cooled down, but it also brought a tremendous amount of rain. Let's take a look at the AutoZone qualifying recap from yesterday. Jeff Gordon on the pole with a new track record of 172.536. Bobby Hamilton will start alongside in row 1. The second row, Sterling Marlin and Bill Elliott. In row number 3, Bobby Labonte and Joe Nemechek. The fourth row, Michael Waltrip, and a great qualifying performance from Jeremy Mayfield. The fifth row, last year's pole sitter here, Rick Mast and Ken Schrader. The sixth row, Dick Trickle and Brett Bodine. Row number 7, Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. Row number 8, Terry Labonte and Greg Sachs. The ninth row consists of Bobby Hillen and Jeff Burton. And qualifying 19th and 20th yesterday, Ted Musgrave and Darrell Waltrip. Those 20 drivers are locked into the starting lineup for tomorrow's Brickyard 400. There are a lot of race fans here, but they're getting wet. Now, we had hoped, I said, to bring you second round qualifying, and we were very, very close. About 15 minutes ago, the track was nearly dry. They were going to open up the track for a half hour of practice, then a 30-minute break, and then a qualifying session. And just as the track began to dry, Ned, it started to rain again.
Wouldn't you know it happened that way? And a lot of disappointed people, too, Bob, because certainly there are a lot of drivers and teams that would like to get out on the racetrack, get in some more practice, and certainly some that wanted the opportunity to qualify in second round here today. But no driver has been on the racetrack yet.
So we really don't have anything to tell you in terms of speed today. So let's take a look at the 21 through 49 qualifiers yesterday. And if we do not have a second round of qualifying, the first 38 drivers here will be the field for tomorrow, plus 3 provisionals. You can see that Robert Presley would start in 21st down through Jimmy Hensley. A.J. Foyt would not make it. They're in 47th position. There would be 3 provisionals available, but Foyt wouldn't make it, and neither would Joe Ruttman, who opted yesterday to participate in the practice for the Super Truck Series by Craftsman out at Indianapolis Raceway Park yesterday afternoon and pass up first-round qualifying in hopes of being here this afternoon and having dry weather.
But he had to put his priorities in order. order. He is leading the point standings in the Truck Series, has an excellent opportunity to win that championship, and so he's committed to it, so he chose to do that, hoping that he'd be able to qualify today.
Well, the driver who finished last in the inaugural Brickyard 400 last year is the 38th slowest qualifier in the field.
Wait a minute.
Benny Parsons is standing. No, Benny isn't standing by. He's dancing around with Jimmy Spencer.
Hey, tell him what we're doing, Spencer.
Doing the rain dance, man.
Because he is 38th, if qualifying is not held today, in the Brickyard 400.
That's true, Benny. I'll tell you something. We're sweating it out here, but, you know, really we feel we can qualify. Again, we have a new set of tires, and the weather's a lot better today if the rain quit. So that would mean we would be faster. But it's still the point, you know, you feel bad for the guys 39th and on back, but NASCAR's got provisionals for them. They also got a provisional for me, but, you know, I'll take the rain and get ready for tomorrow.
Now, come on. You know you want it to rain, Spencer. Now, come on. You know you want it to rain.
No, not that bad now, Benny. Come on. Now, I had a provisional, and,
Okay, yeah, right. I'll tell you what. We're going to go to John Kernan. Now, he's got a guy who really wants it to stop raining. Doesn't he, John?
Oh, Benny, you better believe it. Jeff Purvis, James Finch, their whole team wants the rain to stop right now, get the track dry, get out for practice, and then for second-round qualifying. They missed beating Spencer 2 1,000ths of a second between 38th and 39th. Jeff, this has to be very nerve-wracking for you.
Well, it really is. You know, my team, they're still in good spirit right now, but, you know, we feel like we got a good race car right here. We had some motor problems yesterday, and you know, our straightaway speeds were down real bad. So if we can get back out today, we've got a motor from the 4-car team, and hopefully the Jack Rue Barbecue Sauce car get in there and run good today.
Now, Spencer said he has a provisional. You guys don't have a provisional because you don't run the full schedule.
Well, he should have slowed down 2 100ths of a second. You know, we don't run a full schedule, and that does hurt us quite a bit as far as coming. I don't want to come and use a provisional, but, you know, one weekend Schrader's on the pole, the next weekend he's using a provisional. I mean, it's you know, this is an up and down sport, but except for Gordon's aspect of it, I guess he's over there in a league of his own. But you know, it's put a damper on us right now because we've tested up here and we've run pretty fast during testing, and to go out and have problems yesterday and, you know, come up short is kind of tough on us.
Well, it is very competitive, and you might ask yourself, how close is 2,000ths of a second, Jerry? I did the math. It's roughly 5 inches, and Jeff's car owner, James Finch, said that's about $10,000 an inch.
And obviously that would be a major blow to them here. But how about a guy who hasn't missed a race yet this year? I'm standing with Dave Marcus, 28-year veteran of NASCAR Winston Cup competition. And Dave, in qualifying yesterday, 42nd fastest. That was not nearly good enough, but you've got the deck stacked for you today if you get out.
Well, I feel like if we get an opportunity, Jerry, we got what we need. We had an engine brought in last night, put it in the car this morning, and then when we got to the racetrack, Richard Childress came by and said if we need the engine out of Dale Earnhardt's car, we could have it. So his fellows have taken it out. We have installed it in our car. We have a new set of tires. We have put the rear sway bar in the car. We feel like if we get the opportunity, we have what it takes.
So you got all the cards except the weather now, if you get a chance to go back out and run. Now what about, a lot of guys are coming to you here as the veteran, even the guys who qualified in the 20s and said, hey, if the rain stops, should we requalify? I mean, they know you've been around a long time. What do you tell them?
Well, I mean, it's hard to figure, and I hate to steer someone wrong, or if I give them the advice and then they miss the show, they say, well, Marcus said to do that. But obviously I try and analyze it with them and point out, you know, what reasons where they should or shouldn't. Some guys up in the high 20s have asked, but I think the key issue is a lot more humidity today. You're going to have more drag on the race cars, but the track temperature, the surface temperature is going to be a lot less than it was yesterday. That is going to help increase the speed. Tires are going to grip pretty good, I think, so it's going to pick up corner speeds.
Dave Marcus trying to make sure he doesn't miss a race this year. Has used 5 provisionals, Bob. He doesn't get another one until after Watkins Glen next week, so he needs to requalify to make the show.
A lot of deals being made back here in the garage area, but Mother Nature is holding the Trump hand right now as the rain continues to fall at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, delaying second round qualifying. We'll be back with the Brickyard Kid, Jeff Gordon, when we return to the Speedway. ESPN Speed World coverage of second round qualifying for the Brickyard 400 is being brought to you by the more than 1,000 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. By Delco Electronics, official sponsor of the Brickyard 400. by Smooth Busch Beer and Easy Drinking Busch Light. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR. And by the NASCAR Story. To order, call 1-800-71-NASCAR. Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the rain continues to come down. Jeff Gordon fans are here by the thousands. Last year, we remind you, Jeff Gordon started in 3rd position, won the race, of course. He was followed by Jeff Bodine, who started 7th, Bill Elliott, who started 6th. Rusty Wallace came from 12th to finish 4th. Dale Earnhardt was alongside Rick Mast in the front row when the race started last year, ended up 5th, and Darrell Waltrip came from 27th to 6th position in last year's inaugural race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Ned and I are joined now in our broadcast position back here in the garage area by the man of the week again here in Indianapolis, Jeff Gordon. Good to see you. I guess you're just kind of waiting out the rain too, huh?
Well, you know, I mean, certainly we'd like to get out there and make some laps. We haven't run with any other cars since we've been here. But we pretty much know from last year what you know, how the setup of the car should probably be. But we've got a new car, the Monte Carlo, so things are a little bit different for us. And as we know in the past, some of the races that we've run that we didn't get to use the last practice, we've actually been a little bit better off. So if we practice today or if we don't practice today, I don't think it'll be a major factor for us tomorrow.
Well,
Ray's pretty good at guessing.
At least you're not sweating out the possibility of not getting into the field.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's a tough thing because I mean I'm glad that that I'm through that, but I know that there's a lot of guys out there that are sweating that really want to get out there, and I think they should get their chance, you know. But Mother Nature can only answer to that one.
Well, let's take a look at the run, shall we? Now, I know there are parts of this probably you don't want to watch again, but here you are taking the green flag and kind of describe the run as we watch it here going into turn 1.
Well, actually, even before I took the green flag, it got a little loose off of 4, and so I was a little hesitant through the first turn here in turn 1, and you'll see some times based on some of Bobby Hamilton's runs, he was actually a little bit better than I was in turn 1. Turn 2, I made it right back up. The car felt great. Come off of 2 really hard down the back straightaway. Turn 3 is one of the fastest corners on the racetrack, and you can run in there very, very hard, and you can also run through the corner very fast. You don't have to brake near as much as you do in turn 1. I come off here, I said, all right, I got one last corner to make this thing a really awesome lap. Let's go for it. I punched it down in there. I got a little low on the rumble strip there, and then right here, the car just, it started to come around. I thought, well, it's just going to come around a little bit. It came around a lot more than I thought, and the thought did go through my mind. This might be a whole lot more spectacular than I thought it was going to be. I was looking down the back straightaway, or down the front straightaway to my right, and then it straightened back up, and I didn't have to get out of it too much, but I did. It did, you know, slow us down a little bit. And so when I came around, I'm looking up on the billboard, and I see our number up there first. I'm like, no way. You know, there's no way that this has happened. So it was a great accomplishment for us and our team.
What do you think you would have run if you had not gotten crossface?
Well, they had come around to all the drivers, and they said, you know, this is the pole speed from last year. Pick what you think it's going to be this year. And I had picked a 51.95, not that what I was going to run, just what I thought the pole would be. And I think we would have been in the 51-second bracket. You know, we were going all out, doing whatever it would take to sit on the pole here for this big race. And I think we had a great car, and I just tried to take it a little bit too far. And you know, that just shows how good this team really is, to be able to have a car that good where you can get that sideways, because that does not happen very often, and still come away with a great run.
And fans, when he talks about 51.95, that's the elapsed time, the seconds that it takes to go around here. He actually did it in 52.1600, so he was not far from that 51-second bracket, which many people felt would be a long time before they'd ever reach that bracket here.
I certainly didn't think that we would until we started practicing, and I had run on new tires a 52.20, which was pretty much right at what we qualified at. So I thought, man, if we can do that in practice, there's no telling what we're going to be able to do when it comes to qualifying. You get that adrenaline pumping, and you drive in deeper than you've ever driven in before, and you get all the tape on the front, and you pick up a lot more speed when it comes to qualifying.
Jeff Gordon is going to stay with us for a few more minutes here. We're going to take a break at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where it continues to rain. There you can see Bobby Hamilton on the left. He'll start alongside Jeff in the front row with Michael Waltrip. Back in a moment. Anything that will keep the rain off of you here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as it continues to fall. It has been raining hard now for about 25 minutes and pushing back our second round qualifying. But tonight here on ESPN, coverage will continue with a Brickyard preview with Benny Parsons and myself. That's at 7:30 Eastern time. Dave Despain will be out at IRP with a special edition of Speed Week at 8:30, and then continuing right in with the Grand National race, the Kroger 200 from IRP at 9 o'clock. And that, of course, is with weather permitting, and hopefully we can get this bad weather out of here and we can at least see some racing here on ESPN tonight. Jeff, we all know the tremendous pressure and obligations that you have during a period like this. You ever get an opportunity to get with Brooke in the car and just try to take a drive out by Pittsburgh and see the Indiana countryside, or is that impossible nowadays?
Well, weeks like this it is. When we come and test, it would be much more possible. But Brooke wasn't with me, but I did happen to drive through Pittsburgh yesterday, and I tried to wave to as many people as I could. Unfortunately, I couldn't stop. I had Goodyear functions and fan club meeting and everything else going on last night. But I would love to, you know, she's been out to the house before and by the house where we used to live and through Pittsburgh. But I would love to go out there and be able to just relax, see some of the old folks that we used to go eat lunch with every day, and go over to Frank and Mary's and have some good catfish.
But you're paying a pretty good price with the success that you've had.
I'm not complaining, Bob.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, there's certainly a lot more things that I would love to do. I'd love to be able to get back into an open wheel car more often, to go to more races, you know, and go see high school friends and even friends from California I don't get to see very often. So there are some sacrifices, but I'm, you know, having a wonderful time. Things are going better for me than I ever anticipated, and I'm certainly not complaining.
Well, we showed you a little bit ago Bobby Hamilton, Michael Waltrip, who are standing by in the rain, and Benny Parsons is also with them. Jerry Punch, sorry.
Well, close. I'm getting awful hungry, so I'm feeling like Benny right now. But these guys, you're talking about people who want to see it stop raining. These guys don't care, folks. They absolutely wouldn't care if it snowed, because they're in the field solidly. Let me talk to my far left here, Michael Waltrip. Michael, great qualifying effort yesterday. Picked up a lot of time from your practice.
Yeah, and I did very little different. Ron Puryear and the guys that work on the engines on this car, and Doug Hewitt, the chassis guys, I told them what it did in practice, and they all tuned on it and promised me it'd be faster, and I just got in there and rode, man. It was a great feeling to come across the line with a decent lap, a time that got us in the top 10. I probably could have done them a little bit better job. I mean, probably a couple tenths left out there on the racetrack, but, you know, if you try to go fast, you're going to make mistakes sometimes, and I made a little bit of one coming off 3 over there, and it cost us a little bit.
Michael, people have talked about some of the cars that have come around this year and the year Gordon has had, but you have quietly gotten some tremendous runs this year out of the Pennzoil Pontiac. 10 years in the sport, getting better and better. This is probably your best season to date.
Yeah, it's been the most fun I've ever had, racing every Sunday and being real competitive. That's what it's all about. The guys have given me a super car. And you know the thing about it, Jerry, we got a car we know is better for next year, and that's exciting. Pennzoil's done us a great job as a sponsor, and I'm just trying to log laps for these guys and get the best finishes I can. And we need to be a little bit quicker. We've been real consistent, but we hadn't been fast enough to win races. And that's the goal out of this car, is to win a race before the year's over, and not worry so much about just logging laps, just making fast laps.
Well, Michael will start 7th. Now, the guy standing beside him, boy, what a surprise yesterday. You hadn't even surprised the king, maybe. They knew you were going to run quick, but you lost the qualifying motor. You qualified on the race motor outside front row.
Well, there's very little difference between our qualifying motor and our race motor, you know, 4 or 5 horsepower. And who knows, on a racetrack, when you tape them up or whatever, the qualifying motor might have been slower, but when we put the race motor in, I felt like it run just as fast, so it's just hard to tell, but we was pretty happy with it.
Now, if it were to clear up and you were to go out and practice, you would be practicing on the car, on the same motor you qualified and the motor you expect to race.
Yeah, but we only have, what, 400 miles? No, 400 miles, yeah, that's right, 400 miles here, so the motors they're more or less bulletproof, the bottom end of them. You just got a valve train problem you need to worry about. So I think with the setup and all we got, we can just go like we are. You know, it's pretty well the same thing that they raced last year, and they run pretty good in the race, and that's what we unloaded with, and that's what we qualified with. So I'm sort of hoping it rains the whole time.
A pair of Pontiac chauffeurs here in the garage area, realizing that they've got good cars here, but that new Pontiac, the good one they call it, is still a year away. Bob?
What do you think, Jeff, about outside front row sitter Bobby Hamilton? You going to challenge you down into turn 1?
Well, I was sitting in the Goodyear building over here watching on TV when Bobby ran his lap, and you know, it's really hard to tell from TV just how good a lap can be. And if you look at Bobby's run, the car looks slow almost because it's so fast. I mean, the car is really hooked up, and he made a great run. I mean, he's not getting out close to the wall. He's not hanging the thing out, and he really had a great run going, and the car is definitely working well. So the downforce is there. Their engine was good. He's going to be really tough tomorrow. I think that the Pontiacs, are coming on stronger and stronger. And I think we're getting a little bit nervous about hearing about next year's Pontiac. So who knows? But, it's important to lead this race. And we're going to go out and try to lead as many laps. I think the first one would be great to lead. But, you can't get into a big hurry also. It's not going to be one on the first lap. So it just all depends on how much pressure is put on us going into that first turn.
Those speeds, of course, are in comparison with Rick Mast, who, when Bobby qualified, was the fastest qualifier.
Jeff, is there a preference? Most racetracks, you prefer to be on the inside when the green flag drops. Is that the case here at Indianapolis?
Definitely. We saw a little bit of side-by-side racing last year, and I was one of the ones on the outside, and it was not a real comfortable feeling, but it can be done. You can race on the outside, but the preferable line is definitely on the inside. So having the inside line going into one is going to be something I'm going to be going for, but Bobby might be able to try to, beat us into the first turn, maybe outbreak us or something. But again, that race isn't going to be won on the first lap, as you know. It's a short race, but it's still a long day.
Last year's Brickyard 400 winner, this year's pole sitter, and the leader in the quest for the Cup standings in the Winston Cup Series over Sterling Marlin, Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, and Ted Musgrave. You mentioned wanting to get back into an open wheel car. Does that mean that you might be here during the month of May for the Indy 500?
I didn't mean that kind of open wheel. I've never been in that kind of open wheel car. I don't think that would be possible. But, someday I would love to just... I've sat in one, and so I've been in one. But, someday I'd like to just drive one to have fun, but not to really compete. NASCAR Winston Cup racing is definitely where my future is at.
Jeff, good luck tomorrow. It's been a pleasure having you with us, and maybe number 2, huh?
We're going to try. We're going to try real hard. This is a big race, so thanks for having us.
Jeff Gordon, pole sitter for tomorrow's Brickyard 400. It continues to rain here in Indianapolis. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Later tonight, 12:30 a.m. exactly, the Best of Shop Talk featuring Dale Earnhardt, Team Hendrick, and Bill Elliott here on ESPN. That's at 12:30 a.m. actually tomorrow morning here on the East Coast, 9:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Well, it's still raining in Indianapolis, delaying second round qualifying. But so nothing has happened here today. But yesterday, we talked to the pole sitter. We've talked to the outside front row sitter. One guy who had a tremendous qualifying performance yesterday, Ned, and somewhat of a surprise, Jeremy Mayfield.
Yes, and he didn't even go out for the special practice they had on Wednesday afternoon. He drives the Cale Yarborough RCA Ford, and a very smooth, fast run for Jeremy Mayfield. You can see how well the car's handling and how well he's driving, using the portion of the racetrack he needs to get a good lap. Gets it right up next to the wall coming out of turn 2, and has a great line around the track. Doesn't look like the car moves anywhere for him.
Cale Yarborough, of course, competed in Indy cars here for the Indianapolis 500 a few times. He's the owner of this machine that Jeremy Mayfield drives. Jeremy wound up in 8th position after this great run, right on the line all the way around. Looks like he's on a rail, Ned.
Yes, and they did quite a bit of testing here a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's one thing that helped them.
171.012, good enough for the 8th starting position, and he is standing by with John Kernan.
And Bob, you mentioned that they didn't take advantage of that Wednesday practice session. In fact, before qualifying yesterday, Jeremy, you'd only run 4 laps. How good could you guys have been had you run more?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes you can run too many laps and kind of get yourself out in left field. So we felt pretty confident coming back here, after testing a week ago, and really felt good about things. So that's why we chose not to test Wednesday and save our tires and hopefully come out Thursday and have a good run. And so far it's worked out.
Now, the rain continues to fall here. You guys haven't been out since qualifying yesterday. You did an extensive test here, a couple of days. How are you as far as set up for getting ready for the race tomorrow?
Well, this RCA Ford's really run good in the test, and I feel like we got a real good race car. The thing handles good, it drives good, and we're really looking forward to it. Even if we get practice or we don't, we still feel like we're going to be in pretty good shape for Saturday.
One more question. Yesterday you told me something interesting. You are kind of comparing yourself and this team to Jeff Gordon and Ray Evernham, right?
Well, kind of. You know, Jeff's a young driver, and I'm a young driver, and, you know, they got a good relationship, and I feel like Tony and I have got as good as a relationship as anybody, and so does Cale. You know, it seems like we all really seem to get along, and everything's really starting to gel together for us, and that's probably the most important thing in Winston Cup racing I've found is just having good communication between the crew.
This team has had some very solid runs over the last couple of months. Another team who is coming on strong here in the second half is Joe Nemechek's team, and he's standing by with Jerry Punch.
Hey,
Benny Parsons,
guys,
I'm sorry.
Guys, I know it's Burger King. Did somebody say Burger Chef yesterday?
Oh, they made a mistake. It's Burger King.
Man, and the corporate people was not very happy.
Well, got to get the names right in this business. Burger King's been a great association with our race team, and we're just proud to be carrying them along.
Well, that was about the only bad thing that happened yesterday because it had to be a great day for you, Joe.
It definitely was. For myself, the whole team, I got to give the team credit, the whole Burger King racing team. They've been working real hard. We came up here and tested, ran fast, came back, and we were fast off the truck and ended up 6th.
Tell me about the lap. How was it? Any close calls?
I'm going to say the lap was pretty close to being perfect, except when I got to turn 4. Same place where Jeff had a problem. We went out right before Jeff, and same thing happened to me. And I was just hoping I wasn't going to hit the wall. I had to check up a little bit, and it hurt my front straightaway speed just a little bit. But hey, I tell you what, if you can get in the top 10 the first day here at Indianapolis, you're doing something.
I see you got your uniform on, and obviously you want to go practice. How bad is the fact that you can't get out? Is that going to hurt you?
Well, it's going to change everybody's thinking on how to approach the race, because now you have to guess at what you're doing. The setups are real close to last year, but Goodyear brought a new tire, a better tire than they had, and it's changed the way the car's handled. So no one knows what's going to happen in 20 laps, and that's the big factor right now. So I think we're fairly close. You know, when we qualify, we're basically qualifying with our race setup. We haven't changed any spring shocks or basically anything, just to put a race motor in.
Okay, you said for the goof up yesterday that I was not allowed on your truck to eat the Burger Kings. Now, have I made up for it? Can I get back on the truck?
Absolutely. We'll get you some Whoppers. We need to feed the whole staff here a bunch of Whoppers, and then that way you can keep Burger King in their mind.
Hey, guys, did I do good or what?
Well, we know you could, BP, if it deals with food. The signal that comes from Benny's and John and Jerry's camera goes to this transmitter that Bruce is holding, and he has to point it in a certain direction to this receiver. And man, you think we've got a tough job, Ned? Look at this guy.
Yeah,
that's Tom and Karen up there on the receiver, way up in the air. And not only that, they're having to deal with the elements today. So not a job that I would necessarily like to have. Good job, everybody. The rain continues to fall, delaying second round qualifying at Indianapolis.
Corn may look the best, but if it doesn't go very fast, your times can relax, but you'll still come in last. You can climb on the ladder, reaching for the sky, but you can't win the race if you don't qualify. No, you can't win the race if you don't qualify.
Boy, that is the story. Stay out of areas that are flooded here at the Speedway, and there are a lot of them because it has been raining hard now for about 40 minutes or so, and most people are undercover, but a lot of them are still out in the elements. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Ned Jarrett, and Bill Elliott, of course, turned in a great qualifying performance yesterday here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
He's another driver, and that team is beginning to really come together in recent races. He likes the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, fits his driving style, and so we'll see Bill make his run here.
He ended up 4th fastest. He'll start outside of the front row. Had a good trap speed there at the start-finish line, Ned. He was a mile an hour faster than the previous pole sitter.
And we talked all day about how fast Bobby Hamilton had gone into turn 1 at 188. Well, it was only a mile an hour behind him. We've seen him down as low as 180 going into that turn. So Bill drove her on down in there. So you can see the comparison. Had very good trap speeds almost everywhere around the racetrack.
52.506 was the time for Bill Elliott. That translated to a speed of 171.409. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
And Benny Parsons, I will see your Whopper and raise you a Big Mac here as I am with Big Bill. And Bill, we just saw your qualifying run yesterday. Great effort starting outside of row 2.
Well, everything's going well. I mean, we put a lot of effort on coming here and trying to test and getting everything going as well as we can. And, you know, coming here on Wednesday and practice and trying to guess, you know, what the racetrack was going to be for Thursday is pretty hard to do. And, you know, we kind of give it our best shot. You know, we ran about somewhere around a 52.60 in practice, and I came back and run a 52.50 qualifying. So, you know, anytime you can kind of better your time, you know, in the heat of the day, you know, you've done a pretty good job. And, you know, we're nowhere near, you know, what Jeff and Bobby Hamilton run, but we're close. And, you know, the main thing now is we're through qualifying. We want to get down to what we need to do as far as race is concerned. You know, the weather isn't looking very good, but when we came up here and tested, you know, last week, we put a lot of emphasis on trying to get ready to race and run well during the race and, you know, try to make all the sponsors look good, McDonald's and all those folks.
Talking about omens, I talked to Mike Beam and Ernie, your brother, back in the garage a moment ago. And, guys, listen, last time that they qualified in the top 10 and it rained out second round qualifying was Darlington a year ago. And this guy won the race. So, Bill, maybe an omen.
Well, you never know. But, like I said, we're going to, you know, I feel like we've got the opportunity and the ingredients there to run well come tomorrow. And, you know, just hope the weather clears up and get a good race in.
How important is the draft here? I mean, the racetrack, I realize, is flat. It's got to be not quite as important as Talladega, but still, it plays a role.
It definitely plays a role. But still here, you've got to be able to get through the corner. I guess everybody keeps comparing it to, like, Pocono. You know, you got to get through the corner, but then you got to get down the straightaways, too. And, you know, Ernie's give us some good power here as far as getting down the straightaways. And, you know, Mike's worked awful hard to get the car through the corner, you know, and get a good slick body on the car and get down the straightaways also. So, you know, now if we can just put it all together and run a 400-mile race and be where we need to be. But, you know, still it's a situation to where, you know, if somebody gets hooked up and gets through the corner well, that seems to be the most important part of this particular racetrack.
Bill, best of luck to you.
Hey, we appreciate it.
Well, let's put the brakes on some of this hamburger eating. Benny Parsons has caught up with the Ray Bestest driver, Jeff Burton. Benny?
And Jerry and folks, you know the primary reason I'm talking to Jeff Burton right now? Because he's parked next to Joe Nemechek. I don't have to get out in the rain. That's a pretty good idea, don't you think?
Now, how could I turn an interview like that down?
Yeah. But now tell us about the car. Qualified 18th. Can we go to the front?
I think we can. We tested really well here. Had a super test. Been 3 days, 3 hard days of work here. So I'm looking forward to the race. We think that this rain may even help us some because all day on the 3rd day of our testing, we made long runs. We didn't worry about qualifying. We just made long runs. So I feel pretty confident about it. You know, every race fan knows we've had a kind of a tough year this year, and things have started to turn around. We started to run better lately, so I think we really can get a good momentum for this 10-race stretch coming up right here tomorrow.
You mean Sunday. You ran 3? I mean, you ran all day and long. How many cars do you have? Just the one car?
We brought 2 cars, but the first one got wrecked in Michigan, so I didn't get to run that one. So this car spent 3 days at Indy, and we ran. I think we ran 400 miles the whole time we were here. We spent a lot of time. We really had a lot of things we wanted to test, not only for here, but for everywhere. This is a really good racetrack to test motor stuff, to test transmissions. There's a lot you can do at Indy because of the track speeds that are available to you. You really can learn a whole lot. So we spent a lot of time over here.
Hey, guys, here's a fellow that's already run 400 miles at the Brickyard.
How about that? And the question we want to ask now is, since there are only 2 garages side by side, will Benny have another interview in the next 19 minutes, or will he stay inside where it's dry? I don't know. I probably opt for the second one.
Well, to get to someone else, he has to walk out of that garage and walk around to get to another. We wouldn't have to stay out there very long, though, so maybe he can handle that.
It is still raining here. Not a wheel has turned so far here at the Speedway. Hey, look at this. He's actually going outside into the rain, friends.
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
No. We'll be right back. Tomorrow here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, there is pre-race activity, and ESPN will have it live for you at noon Eastern time. And then right after that at 1 o'clock Eastern, the actual race itself. And that, of course, will be on ABC. That is, if the weather clears, and everyone here is hoping that it will, and there's somewhat optimism from the weatherman. in the last hour or so about tomorrow. Looks like it may have stopped raining, at least heavy rain right now. So we might also mention that NASCAR is going to go as late as possible to try to get in this second round of qualifying. So they're going to go out and try to get the track dry and get in some practice and get them out there for qualifying.
And as you mentioned earlier, in case you just tuned in, what they would do is give them 30 minutes of practice, and then they would have 30 minutes for the cars that would requalify to go through inspection, and then they would run those that care to requalify.
And of course, we're on Central Time here in Indiana. It's only 2:45, and so they could go until 7:30 tonight before they would actually have to wash out the whole day. All right, John Kernan standing by with Ted Musgrave.
Well, Bob, Ted Musgrave and his team qualified 19th yesterday, and probably were one of the busiest teams here. They ran more than 34 laps, I believe, Ted. So if you don't get it back out to practice, you guys probably have a lot of information you can put toward the setup for tomorrow, don't you?
Well, that's what you kind of got to do, you know, when we looked at the weather and seen what could have happened. There's been plenty of times, even at Pocono, where we've had rainouts completely on Saturday and had to revert back to what you can think about and what you have in your notebooks on the previous race. So, you know, we didn't have very much race information here, you know, just one year. So we kind of took a little bit of a test yesterday, and I think we changed everything but the color of the car. And just to find out what it would do at different areas on the racetrack and what would be the best shot for here on Saturday in case it does rain out tomorrow.
Hey, you guys top 5 in the points. You're consistently up there, still looking for that victory. Are you surprised you're right here where you are? Because, I mean, you've only got, what, 4.5 years of Winston Cup experience?
Well, yes and no. You know, I'm really grateful that, you know, we've got as good as we did this year. But, you know, I've had only 4 years of experience in Winston Cup, but I've been driving race cars for 20-some years. So, you know, I needed to be here, and I'm glad to be here. But, boy, I look over my shoulder, and like I said before, there's championship caliber cars right behind me. And being top 5 in the points right now, looking there, it's going to be an awful tough second half because I'm going to try my hardest to stay in the top 5. But, like I say, with the likes of Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, and all the other one back behind me, I'm going to have to search and scrape for everything I can get the second half.
Well, Ted Musgrave looking for a great second half, also a good run for tomorrow. Let's go now to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Caught up with Kenny Schrader, and Kenny, got to feel pretty good starting in the top 10 here. Your kind of racetrack. You run awfully well at Pocono. That's a flat 2.5-mile facility, just the same as here. This one has an extra turn than Pocono has, but your kind of place.
Well, you know, the Bud teams always run good at Pocono, and we struggled a little bit up here last year. We run 7th. You know, we think we got a lot better combination this year, and last year we started 23rd. This year we're starting 10th, so we kind of really geared up for this race.
I know people are looking at you and seeing the bruises going away on the eye, but folks, you're not going to believe this. There were 2 races in town this week, and you didn't drive either one of them. That's unusual for Ken Schrader.
We ran last week, though. We ran Wednesday right after Talladega, and we ran Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening last week. So we just kind of taken off this week. Went ahead and worked last week.
Folks, you heard it here first. Kenny Schrader took a week off, and it took about 4 or 5 tumbles, roll over side to get him to take a week off. Kenny, good luck to you. What about your shot tomorrow? Do you have a shot to run with your teammate Gordon?
I tell you what, Jeff's running awful good, and I think he'll be the car to beat. But they've helped us a lot with setup, and we think we got just as good stuff as they do. So we're hoping to.
After what happened at Talladega, this guy is due. They owe him one, and maybe he'll get it tomorrow. Bob?
Ken Schrader starts 10th in tomorrow's Brickyard 400. There is no activity on the Speedway, and there isn't even any activity on the golf course as the rain and gloomy weather continues in Indianapolis. The hot, oppressive weather is over here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but it brought in the rain. We are in a delay situation here at the Speedway. No activity yet today on the Speedway, and so second round qualifying has been pushed back. And we don't know at this time if there will be second round qualifying for tomorrow. But yesterday, of course, during first round, Jeff Gordon with the pole speed, and another guy who did real well, Ned, was Bobby Hillen.
Had a tremendous run here indeed. Jasper U.S. Air Ford, number 77. Bobby hasn't been driving that car too long, but we'll take a look and see how he compares with Bobby Hamilton. See, going into turn 1, he was a little bit, or going across the start-finish line to take the green flag, he was a little bit faster and had a good time on the end of the turn. Good time in the short chute, very close to Hamilton. So Bobby Hillen just a tremendous run here, really. Normally, we don't see Bobby hasn't run that much in the last several years, has not had a full-time ride, and to come in here in a car that he's only been driving 6 or 7 races, He
saw him a
done a good job.
little loose there going into the corner. Didn't watch. Boom.
Yeah, gets into the wall, but he keeps his foot on the floorboard. You can see a piece of the spoiler or something that came off and takes the checkered flag, but a very, very good run.
Great job by Bobby Hillen, 170.593. BP, did you get wet?
No, I didn't get wet. It stopped raining right now.
Oh, good.
And you know, the first time that Bobby Hillen Jr., this is Bobby Hillen Jr., we always talk about him. The first time he came in this garage area, you came in the trunk of
Bobby Hillen Sr.'s car.
And this, folks, is Bobby Hillen Sr. See what a monster you created?
I really did, didn't I?
You did. For doggone sure. Bobby, tell us about the run yesterday. Brush the wall?
Well, I tell you, Benny, I'm just so thankful we're in the top 20. You know, to come here to Indianapolis and be competitive is a great feeling. And, you know, we've got mixed emotions. I mean, I got wide in 4 and definitely smacked the wall, and it hurt us at least 2,500ths. And if you add 2,500ths or subtract 2,500ths to my time, that puts us in the top 5. So, you know, me and the guys, we're looking at it saying, oh, look how good we could have been. But, you know, at the same time, we're thankful we're in the show and we're running good.
Got to be a little bit concerned about the rain if we don't get back out to practice, because you don't want to start the race on a car that hasn't been on the racetrack after you brush the wall.
Exactly. You know, we're concerned because we bent some things onto the car, and, you know, it's one of those deals where you don't want to get in a race and 100 laps something break and say, man, we should have changed that or we should have looked at that. But the guys are taking extra precautions, and they're changing anything that even remotely could be damaged in the accident.
They're changing a lot of parts over here, Bob.
Well, they're going to start 17th tomorrow, and we wish Bobby Hillen the best of luck, as now the track drying efforts are underway here at Indianapolis. The rain temporarily stopped. We hope that we can get second round qualifying in later today. Back in a moment. Benny and I will be back here at the Brickyard at 7:30 Eastern Time for a preview of tomorrow's race. Speed Week from IRP at 8:30. The Busch Grand National Race Kroger 200 at 9 o'clock Eastern here on ESPN. And then at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time, join us for a special edition of Shop Talk featuring Dale Earnhardt, Team Hendrick, and Bill Elliott. Well, the Wood brothers have been coming here with Morgan Shepherd for a couple of years as far as stock car activity is concerned, but the Wood brothers have been coming here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway a long time back. In the mid-60s was their first visit.
The number 21 Ford driven by Morgan Shepherd was one of the most consistent cars on the Winston Cup circuit in 1994. Although he failed to make it to victory lane, he was running at the end of all but 2 races. His next victory will make him the oldest driver in history to win a NASCAR Winston Cup event.
Well, I can't wait. That's the biggest thing. The team's very strong, and that's what we're working towards, is to win more races.
The Wood brothers will be competing at the Brickyard this year with hopes to repeat a trip to victory lane they made 30 years ago. Leonard and Glenn were members of Jim Clark's winning crew in the 1965 Indianapolis 500. Leonard was the crew chief for the Colin Chapman-owned team and was one of the refuelers.
We came up to pit his car. That's all we was supposed to do, you know, was just do the pit stops. And, of course, Colin Chapman, you know, owned and maintained the car, and he did all the rest. But I guess we gained the most publicity we ever gained in our life just in a matter of seconds right there.
There was little doubt that Jim Clark was one of the all-time great race drivers.
He was very competitive. He told me, he says, I'm just going to take it easy, you know, and the race started, you know, he says, I'm not going to run hard. Well, he may have took it easy about the first lap or 2, but after that, he just went on. I didn't get to know him that well, but I told him that it was very important that he stop at the proper spot, because if he went over, you know, it would kink the hoses, and if he stopped short, the hoses wouldn't reach. And he says, you just tell me where you want to stop. And he put it right on the money. I remember when we pitted Clark, it was a very rewarding victory when we rolled into victory lane that day.
Morgan Shepherd standing by live with John Kernan.
Well, Bob, Morgan and the Wood brothers qualified 33rd yesterday, but Morgan, that's not necessarily a reflection of a slow car, is it? You had a little bit of an ignition problem, didn't you?
No, in practice, we'd run like 52, 70-some, and we had a fast race car. We had an alternator to go out on it, and the battery was down, and the car just missed real bad, so made a bad qualifying effort.
Well, it may have been a bad qualifying effort, but they should have a pretty good car tomorrow. I asked Morgan Bob if he was going to run to the front. He had this little smile. He said, kind of like that smile there. He said, yeah, we should.
Well, he's starting way back in 33rd position, but it's where you finish and not where you start. Back with a final comment after this. ESPN Speed World coverage of second round qualifying for the Brickyard 400 been brought to you by Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR, genuine Chevrolet. By Pennzoil, the motor oil that works like liquid ball bearings. And by AC Delco Automotive Parts. AC Delco, it's like buying time. It stopped raining for the moment. They are trying to get the track dry, but we have had no qualifiers so far today. Let's review, Ned, the top 15 here. Of course, the top 20 are locked into starting position, and it could be that these top 38 that you're going to see here will indeed comprise the field for tomorrow.
Yeah, if they do not get any more qualifying in this afternoon, but as we said earlier, they'll make every effort to try to do so. There you see from 16th through 30th position. Many of those will stand on their time, even if they do get to requalify here this afternoon and just let it fall where it will.
And then there would be 3 provisionals up for grabs besides those 38 that you see there. So kind of a disappointment that we had no qualifying here today, at least on our live show, but hopefully the track will dry later this afternoon and they can indeed have second round of qualifying attempts. So in any case, it's been an exciting 2 days of practice qualifying here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400.
You can have a real good sponsor with lots of money to spend. You can drive like you go crazy and be held back by the wind. You can live wild and free and feel like you can fly. Win the race if you don't qualify. Well, you can win the race if you don't qualify. You can't go to the winner's circle, hold that trophy high. There's lots of fame and fortune that reaches far and wide. You can't win the race if you don't qualify. You can't win the race if you don't qualify.
Rain here at the Speedway. However, a lot more activity comes up later tonight. A preview at 7:30, a Speed Week at 8:30, and the Grand National Race from IRP at 9. Coming up next, the Senior Championship VFW Tournament from Kansas City. For Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, and Jerry Punch, we'll see you tomorrow for a preview show at noon Eastern Time. So long, everyone.